Hey guys, Theorycrafting here. Seems I recorded my last video at just the worst time, because right after publishing, ascendancy classes dropped, and now we know what all the nodes on the trees do. But before that, we gotta talk about a potentially giga-janky but absolutely insane combo. It might just not work at all if it is the exact same mechanic as in PoE 1, because it's only one directional, or the game can't be tricked to prevent the interaction at all. But if it works, it would be one of the funniest and potentially best interactions for Flickr. Insane levels of copium incoming. Expect this to not work at all, but I still want you to tell about it. We're talking about charge muling here. It all relies on these gloves. They're named like their PoE 1 counterpart, but have a different text. Namely, the old PoE 1 keystone conduit, which works like this in PoE 1. When your character gains a charge, all your allies in a certain radius gain that charge too. That is what charge sharing meant in PoE 1. We know that some mechanics work ever so slightly different PoE 2. Wording was streamlined, etc., and a new conduit node or keystone exists. So cue the big copium part. Maybe. In PoE 2, the share keyword actually means it is shared within your allies, and you may expand the charges of your allies as well. If maybe this would be the case, this new keystone would fully circumvent the Flickr charge gain prevention in combination with the new conduit and a charge sharing. If that isn't prevented by the Flickr charge gain prevention, it would grant a minion, which is the charge mule, a power charge, which you will later use to consume for Flickr. Even if sharing works two ways, so not just you giving your charges to your minions, but the mule giving it back to you, the question remains if the Flickr prevention happens before or after the charge is granted to a minion. So if you would gain a charge on the conduit, if that triggers before the prevention or after prevention, could fully disable this interaction. Well, that's how it would work if it works at all. Very funny, but also big copium. So don't expect this to work. So here's another quick mention for another patchwork fix for Flickr, perpetual charge, which would allow you to use charge flicker more than once before you have to go back to gaining charges, also known as not flickering at all, because you can't gain them while flickering, which is just another patchwork fix, and you would have a full 65% chance of this not helping you at all. This is something I'd more see in a discharge build, but the wording on this skill strengthens my theory on the one with the storm notable from the last video. We have new wordings, and that's what I think the interaction should do, but it's just a theory after all. I could be fully wrong. We'll see in a few days. All right, let's get into ascendancies now. Let's take a look at Acolyte first. We know now what Waking Dream and Into the Breach do exactly, and I'm not very impressed. It looks like a lot of work for at maximum 70% damage as extra case damage, and that's after you went out and collected 10 of those purple flames, which is going to be pretty annoying, I feel, and that's just not a good way to play if it works the way I imagine it should work. Reality rendering is just harness to void from PoE 1 and gives you, if you do the math, an average of 20-point-something% of your damage as extra chaos damage. And that's kind of okay with fast hitting skills, but also pretty mid, more of a filler ascendancy if you have 2 extra points because you don't take 2 full branches. Inner Silence halves the time your darkness is reserved for, which seems mid, and since Eldritch Battery is by now confirmed to not be the same or even exist in early access, CIEB MOM, like in the last video, is pretty much dead, and Consuming Question is mandatory, forcing you to be choosing between Grasp of the Void and Inner Silence, so you have to use either Grasp of the Void for extra damage or Inner Silence for more defense de facto, kind of. Well, overall, I'm not very keen on Acolyte. I am, however, pretty impressed with Invoker. 3 of the 4 newly released skills are what I would probably skill into it if I were to go for an Invoker, which I pretty much will. First, Lead Me Through Gaze. While I'm not sure how the numbers will work out, it fits right into what I'll be playing with my Flicker, which is going to be the same as the Flicker Trickster in PoE 1, which is Evasion, Shield, Evasion, and Energy Shield. And we're going to be using Hybrid Chest, pumping defenses to the max like the Necrotic in PoE 1, and Spirit will be generated off of the defense stats on that body armor. Spirit will be very useful with trigger skills, which will throw in the ring after the ascendancies. This will probably also free up gear slots or gear affixes, as you no longer have to or even can gain Spirit from a gear, but I honestly didn't bother to research what you would gain from that, if it's just a downside, if it even frees something up, but potentially another upside here. Next, and Protect Me from Harm, which is pretty insane. While we have to pay a penalty, which is 40% less evasion, we gain the effect of evasion being evasion and armor in one. That's pretty damn good, I'd say. And if PoE 2 is anything like PoE 1, physical hits will always be more problematic than elemental hits, for the average player at least. And having both an avoidance layer and a mitigation layer on one's resource is amazing in my book. So let's just do a very rudimentary calculation with PoE numbers assumed, and just assume they translate over to PoE 2. If you have 10,000 evasion and you would have about 55% evade chance, and if you were to get this ascendancy, you would trade your 55% evade chance for a 42% evade chance, and on top of that, a 35% physical damage reduction, which just applies to everything. That makes stacking evasion rating higher much more beneficial, as you simply gain both mitigation and avoidance, at least for attacks. Spells, we will probably have to cover with something else, but block seems kind of out of the question. It's pretty unattainable, I think, because it's pretty much restricted to shields. There is one quarterstaff that has only spell block, and it seems it is just spell block on quarterstaffs, and those are two-handed, so no shield. As for the last ascendancy, I will want Sunder my enemies, which is just Inquisitor's old inevitable judgment. A damn good node, removing all need for elemental penetration if you manage to get crit cap, which should be fairly doable with quarterstaffs having a fairly high base crit chance of 10%, which you can probably improve with local and tree stuff. Then we do scatter them to the winds for bolts or waves, which will serve as our AoE clear just right after Sunder my enemies. So 2 branches at the very top and the very bottom. That's what I will probably want to go for as ascendancies. So let me quickly throw in what I have in mind for 3 right now, and also trigger skills. Trigger skills are pretty good. They will probably enable us to do some good supplementary things with Flicker. I just put on some here: Cast on Shock, Herald of Thunder, Cast on Critical, and a few we don't even know what they do. The ones I put in those red boxes, Charge Infusion and Elemental Conflux, sound like they could be pretty good, and getting more spirit off of your body armor from Invoker, enabling us to get more of these meta skills that will trigger other skills, specifically with elemental ailments in your mind. Might be damn good, and I think that will make Invoker even better. So for 3, no access to shields as of right now, as I said. So it looks like Ancient Aegis is not possible, which would be Aegis Aurora, armor regain on block at 50% power, packed into a notable. That's on the strength intelligence side of the tree, and while we could go over there, we probably can't even get shields with flicker for now, so there's no way this goes into tree, and we're going to go full on energy shield evasion. I can't see anything other than Ancient Ages either that will work as a regain mechanic that works just passively, so on block. So with the current info, it looks like AFKing won't be possible with quarterstaves, as you will need the shield, and to the best of my knowledge, that's just not possible now. Instead, I'm looking at the evasion energy shield, doubled it with Invoker, and that looks pretty good, I think. These notables on screen are what I will want for my character for constant recharge, starts, and high evasion. So to prevent the recharge that gets triggered often from being stopped, which would be even better if we get Wicked Ward back. Can't find it on tree yet, and maybe the Eldritch Battery Keystone is going to be replaced with Wicked Ward in early access. Totally hopium here. We'll see if we even get it back, but that would be amazing. Another thing is Spectral Ward, which I have at the top right here, which is 1/2 of Escape Artist from Trickster. And as you can see, it is part of this wheel, if you can call them wheels in PoE 2 tree, that has an undiscovered notable. And I just suspect it to be the other half of Escape Artist up for grabs there, and that just should make the Escape Artist tree cost a few passive points instead of 1 ascendancy. So that's all about theory crafting for PoE 2. So I hope that will suffice, and I'm excited to see if it will for a workable character. And I guess we'll find out in about 2 days. Well, thanks for watching, and hope to see you in the next one. Cheers and goodbye.